So you guys seem to really enjoy my last For Noobs video and wanted to see another one. I got permission from Macro himself to continue the series just with a different title and thumbnail, so here we are. So we're going to be changing the For Noobs series to the How To series. So just keep that in mind for the future. Today we are doing How To Blight, which was highly requested in the comment section of my last video. I was originally planning on doing How To Dead by Daylight first, but I literally scripted out an outline and it's 14 pages long and I'm not even done with it. So that's going to take a while. If you guys enjoy this video and want me to continue this series, let me know by dropping a like and comment who I should do next. If we get to 3,500 likes on this video, I will make another one. Also, of course, full credit goes to Macro on YouTube for this fantastic video format. This video is part of a series where I try to replicate other content creators as much as possible. So this is all Macro's editing style, not mine. I basically went through a bunch of his videos, studied the editing style, and now I'm trying to create that exact style in my video. Anyway, guys, let's learn how to use my boy Blight. The Blight's real name is Talbot Grimes, or it might be pronounced Talbot.
Talbot. Talbot.
Google told me it was Talbot, so we're gonna go with that. And he was a Scottish chemist. When he was just a little boy, he got sick when he was playing with a plant called foxglove. Literally every other child would be like, yo, maybe I shouldn't go near those again. But not this child. He instead became really interested in the effects of plants, leading to his passion for chemistry. He went to the London School of Medicine and was reprimanded during his time there for grave robbing in order to conduct experiments on dead bodies. But apparently, no one cares because he was hired soon after by the British East India Company, where he slowly made his way up the ranks and became the lead chemist. Then he developed a drug that allowed people to focus better and to need less sleep so they could work more hours. This drug also just sounds like Adderall to me, but anyway. It was revolutionary, and as anyone would, he was rewarded with an underground laboratory beneath a prison camp off the coast of India. Seems pretty normal to me. There, he was given the task of making a drug that allowed soldiers to withstand insane amounts of pain and started experimenting on the soldiers from the Opium War. When he created the drug, he began distributing it to the soldiers without it being properly tested, so they had major side effects he didn't know about. Supposedly, some of these soldiers became crazy and massacred villages, although Talbot thought these were just exaggerated stories. You know what? I'm just going to call him Tal for the rest of this because I don't want to embarrass myself for not knowing the pronunciation. He slowly began to make enemies without even knowing it. In fact, one of his enemies knocked him unconscious and kidnapped him, beating him nearly to death in a mass grave full of victims of his medicine. This is about where he heard the entity's whispers telling him to come with for boundless research and unlimited knowledge. Tal gave in, but once he was in the entity's realm, he realized that he had been manipulated, and this is where the story gets really interesting. He looked for a way to escape the realm, finding an old shack that used to be home to a man named Vigo, a man who experimented on pustula flowers. Talbot was super interested in this research and began to finish what Vigo started. Supposedly, the nectar from the pustula flowers was literally the raw power of the entity itself and could be used to open portals between dimensions if used properly. It could also give the subject inhuman powers like incredible strength and speed. Do you see where this is going? However, other killers roaming the entity's realm would continuously attack him and chase him away from the lab, making it difficult for his research to continue. But he was determined to find a way to escape. He went back to the lab, injecting the serum into a dead rat. The rat came back to life and bit him, infecting him with the serum known as Blight. And this was the beginning of his drug addiction. He wanted more, so he began to inject himself with the Blight. This made him strong enough to finally defend himself from the other killers who would attack him. And as his medicine progressed, he made a revolution in his serum called Compound 34 that may have been able to let him escape from the realm, but the entity took him just before he could use it. Unlucky. The entity then trapped him and overdosed him on the Blight serum, transforming his body into a deformed being. Tal was dropped into a trial and was told to kill all the survivors for just another drop of the serum that had infested his mind. And now he kills baby Dwights and Claudettes forever. Blight's power is called Rush, aka basically, he can just run really fast. And that makes him the second best killer in the game, apparently. But he can only run fast for a few seconds before needing to shoot up again. The next part of his power is called Slam, aka for some unknown reason, if he bumps into walls or objects, he suddenly loses the urge to inject himself, allowing him to sprint for longer. So you can basically chain up to 5 rushes by default before being forced into a cooldown. And the best part about his power is called Lethal Rush, aka you can actually swing while rushing. Granted, you have to bump into at least one thing before you can swing. So you're able to catch up to someone really fast and down them all in one swift motion. After going into a cooldown, you have to wait until you get all of your charges back again before you can rush. The Blight is the second strongest killer in the game, so he's going to have a lot of strengths. Mobility. Since Blight can move so quickly, he can get to anywhere on the map in like 2 seconds. He basically runs at Mach 7. Map pressure. Because of his extreme mobility, he can easily patrol the map. He can return to hooks quickly, he can force you off gens quickly, and he can stop you from cleansing totems quickly. Snowball potential. His snowball potential is lower than other killers, but if you put on the Alchemist ring, which currently refills all your charges if you hit a survivor in your rush, you can constantly rush hit if a bunch of survivors are near you. Closing distance. You know how when survivors get hit, they get a speed boost to give them distance so they don't die immediately? Well, lucky you, distance doesn't mean anything to this killer. Remember, you are the Flash, so you can catch up to them immediately after hitting them. Blight's speed also makes for really good synergy with perks like Ruin, because he can get people off gens so quickly. Undying, because, well, Ruin. Surveillance, because he can see which gens he needs to get back to. Barbecue and Chili, because he can get to the survivor immediately after knowing where they are. Bitter Murmur, for the same reason as Barbecue. Discordance, because he can get to gens fast. Pop Goes the Weasel, because he can get to gens fast. Thrilling Tremors, because he can get to gens fast. Mindbreaker, aka Fearmonger, because he can get to gens fast. Tinkerer, because he can. Thrill of the Hunt, because he can get to totems fast. Infectious Fright, because he can get to survivors fast. Lethal Pursuer, you guessed it, because he can get to survivors fast. Monitor and Abuse, to give the survivors less reaction time if you're rushing. And Shadowborn, just because it looks so sexy. Blight is the hardest killer in the game to master, so a little noob like you will need lots of practice before becoming good. It's also very difficult to use Blight on indoor maps or horrendously disgusting maps like RPD, but that's just any killer, honestly. You also have to learn which objects you can and cannot bump off of on every single map. This is probably the most frustrating thing about learning Blight. The hitboxes on some of the objects are so bad that you will sometimes just slide right off of things like you're doused in melted butter, but other times you'll bounce into a tiny pebble on the ground. It's really hard to use your power in some loops as well, so you need to know how to loop as a basic killer with no power, which I know will be hard for you noob. Perks that require you to use your basic attack are very bad on Blight because most of your hits will be in your power. So Sloppy Butcher, Noed, Devour Hope, Haunted Ground, Plaything, Surge, aka Jolt, Save the Best for Last, etc. will all be useless on him. And lastly, it is impossible to play this killer without using stretch res and posting your exploit hits on Twitter, so unfortunately, you'll need to use Twitter. Pretty much every single one of Blight's add-ons is very good. Here are all the ones I'd recommend. Compound 33 lets him bump into a breakable wall or pallet and break it almost instantly, and it also slows survivors down if he bumps near them. Eerie Blight Tag makes your last rush insta-down, so if you have 5 rushes and you hit someone on your 5th rush, they'll go down instantly. Alchemist Ring is probably his best add-on as it lets him rush immediately after hitting someone in a rush. Adrenaline Vial gives you 2 extra rush charges, but makes it more difficult to turn while you're rushing. However, if you pair this with Umbra Salts, which increases your turn rate, this feels literally so smooth, it's insane. There's also Plague Bile, which is basically just a worse version of Umbra Salts. Blighted Crow and Blighted Rat increases your movement speed every time you bump into something, so if you pair the two, you're basically Dash from The Incredibles. Compound 21 lets you see the auras of anyone nearby after bumping, and then Cankerthorn and Foxglove reduces your rush fatigue. And for you, you should use the Chipped Monocle, which displays where you're going to slam, and Compound 7, which automatically faces you towards a survivor if they're close to you. Blight is pretty much only leveled up for one perk, and that's Hex Undying. This is one of the best perks in the entire game because it allows any of your other Hex perks to have an extra life. This perk originally could give your Hex perk up to 4 extra lives. I can't believe that behavior let that come to live servers. It's almost like they don't have a QA team or something. He also has 2 other perks, which are both very mediocre. Dragon's Grip basically makes it so if you kick a gen, any survivor that touches the gen within the next 60 seconds will be exposed. This is really only good if you're in a 3-gen situation or if you saw a survivor near a gen and you're pretending like you didn't. And lastly, he has Hex Blood Favor, which is probably one of the worst Hex perks in the game. It just blocks all pallets within 32 meters of a survivor losing a health state, but the best thing to do as a survivor is to get as much distance as possible when you get hit, which basically renders this perk useless apart from very niche situations like blocking a pallet save. Long story short, just use Undying. Blight is one of, if not the most difficult killers to learn and master, so don't get frustrated if you're losing a lot. Once you're able to learn his ins and outs, he's one of the most fun killers in the whole game because he's so speedy. Since he's on drugs, he's really fast, so he's very good at getting to places quickly, which is the best thing for killers in this game. However, it's hard for Blight to use his power on indoor maps or in most loops, so sometimes you just have to play as a regular M1 killer. But he has really good add-ons that change the way he plays, which can make him a very replayable killer while still maintaining his strength compared to something like Stratchmere Myers. In conclusion, Blight is extremely hard for noobs. If you guys want me to make more of these types of videos, go drop a like and then comment how to something down below. Again, this can be a killer or a survivor, or even more specific things like perks, maps, or offerings. Let's try to hit that like goal of 3,500 likes and I will make another one. Also, come follow my Twitch where I stream every Tuesday at 1 p.m. PST. But anyway, that's it for this video, so I'll catch you later. Ya noob.